If you hear your name called twice from the rhododendron thicket, do not answer. If you see a lantern bobbing on a ridge where no trail exists, just look away. Appalachia, a vast and ancient land, isn't just a place on a map. It's a feeling, a memory, a whisper carried on the mountain wind. Its rugged terrain, often isolating communities for generations, has birthed a unique culture steeped in self-sufficiency, deep-rooted traditions, and stories that blur the line between history and legend. Tonight, we're not just counting 14 states, we're delving into 14 secrets. Each one a chilling historical fact or a piece of folklore so unnerving it's been whispered to leave a scar on the very soul of the mountains. From forgotten battlefields to haunted hollows, these are the tales that remind us some things are best left undisturbed. Section 1. New York. We start our journey at the northernmost edge, where New York's southern tier slices the plateau like a rusted blade. Here, the landscape feels a bit different, but the shadows run just as deep. Take Cattaraugus County, for instance. In 1901, its poorhouse, a place of last resort for the destitute and forgotten, officially recorded 312 residents. But here's where the numbers stop adding up. The hillside behind that imposing brick asylum holds 513 graves. That's the 101 bodies, over 100 souls, never logged, never officially accounted for in the cold, hard records. What happened to them? Were they simply too insignificant to count, or was something far more sinister at play? Night nurses, brave enough to work those lonely halls, swore the uncounted still scratched at the windows, their ethereal fingers tapping, begging to be let back in from the perpetual cold. They say the desperate energy of those lost souls still clings to the land. Locals, those who know the true history of the place, keep a salt shaker in the glove box when they drive Route 17 past the ruins. If their engine stalls at the crest, a sudden, inexplicable silence falling over the vehicle, they don't panic. They pour a thin, white line around their car, a protective barrier against whatever lingers. And wait. They wait for the knocking to stop. It's a small ritual, a desperate plea for peace from the hungry spirits who never found it in life or death. The lingering question remains, what kind of desperation, what level of neglect, could create such a profound and permanent haunting? Section to Pennsylvania. Most people think of Gettysburg when they imagine Pennsylvania's ghosts. And sure, those battle-scarred fields have their share of spectral soldiers. But for a real, deep-seated chill, you need to head about 50 miles west. There, at the crossroads of a place called Quiet Dell, sits a defaced boulder, a silent witness to a horror most have forgotten. In 1756, during the brutal Penn's Creek Massacre, a small militia of settlers found themselves in a desperate pursuit of Lenape warriors through the dense forest gap. The air was thick with tension, the sounds of conflict echoing through the trees. Then, a sudden, unnatural fog rolled in, thick and suffocating, folding the entire valley in an impenetrable shroud. When it finally lifted, the silence that followed was far more terrifying than any battle cry. Only one white scout remained alive, his eyes wide with unspeakable horror. His ears were stuffed with river clay, a crude and horrifying act meant to silence him, to prevent him from hearing whatever transpired in that eerie mist. And his tongue, nailed to the very rock we speak of. It's a gruesome image, isn't it? A warning, perhaps, or a lingering curse. To this day, after every spring thaw, the stone still weeps iron-red streaks, as if the blood of that scout, or perhaps the land itself, refuses to be forgotten. And hikers, those brave or foolish enough to venture near, report hearing voices, not just one, but two distinct languages, Lenape and German, arguing, overlapping, and echoing through the trees, trapped in an eternal, unresolved conflict. It makes you wonder what secrets that fog truly concealed, and what unspeakable acts were committed when no one could see. Section 3. Ohio. The Hocking Valley, beautiful now, once pulsed with the harsh rhythm of industry. In 1839, the Hocking Valley Iron Works was a titan, but like many such operations, it wielded its power with a cruel hand. Workers weren't paid in real money, but in Tommy tokens, brass coins redeemable only at the company store, a system designed to keep families perpetually indebted. It was a cycle of exploitation, and when wages were cut even further, desperation set in. 3 miners, unable to feed their families, made a desperate gamble. Under the cloak of moonlight, they tried to ford the treacherous Hocking River, hoping to escape the company's grip, to find a better life. But the river, swollen and unforgiving, claimed their hopes and their lives. All 7 children drowned, their tiny bodies swept away in the cold currents. The next payroll, a chilling, impossible event occurred. The foundry's distinctive brass tokens appeared warm and wet on every clerk's counter as if freshly pulled from the river's depths. A silent, terrifying accusation. To this day, no bridge crosses that particular bend of the Hocking. Locals say the river itself won't allow it, guarding its tragic secrets. And if you're brave enough, or perhaps foolish enough, to toss a quarter into the water at midnight, they say it lands with a distinct clink on an unseen stack of brass coins, echoing the Tommy tokens of old. Then, the river exhales, a deep, resonant sound like the roar of a furnace, a mournful sigh for the lives it took and the justice it still seeks. It's a stark reminder of the human cost of industry and the enduring memory of a river that refused to forget. Section 4, Maryland. Deep within the lush, verdant embrace of Swallow Falls State Park, there's a cabin. But this isn't just any rustic retreat. This cabin was built from the very timbers of the 1918 Fluke Quarantine Hospital, a place of isolation and despair during one of history's deadliest pandemics. Can you imagine the suffering those walls witnessed? The Ranger log for October 1919 lists a patient named E. Morrow, age unknown, condition improved. Intriguing, isn't it? But here's the kicker, no discharge, E. Morrow simply vanished from the records, a ghost before their time. Decades later, in 1973, a Boy Scout troop, full of youthful exuberance, camped near the cabin. It was a sweltering 98-degree day, the kind of heat that makes you yearn for a cool breeze. Yet, the scouts woke to find frost feathering the inside of the cabin windows. It defied logic, defied physics. When their photos were developed, a chilling image emerged. A figure, unmistakably wearing a 1918 nurse's mask, was pressed against the glass, breathing onto it. And in the fog of their breath, clearly visible, was the word yachts, stay, spelled backward. It was a desperate plea, a warning, or perhaps a command from a spirit trapped between worlds. Still tending to their patients, still bound to the place of their suffering. The cabin, a silent sentinel in the woods, holds onto the pain of a century past. A stark reminder that some illnesses and some spirits are never truly cured. Section 5, West Virginia. Point Pleasant might have its famous Mothman, drawing tourists and cryptid enthusiasts, but head about 30 miles south, to the ghost town of Gad, and the math gets far worse. Gad isn't just a quiet, decaying relic, it's a place where time itself seems to have fractured. In 1927, the mine, the lifeblood of the community, blew at precisely 3:07 p.m. 63 men, fathers, sons, brothers, were instantly swallowed by the earth. The tragedy ripped through the small Appalachian community, leaving a gaping wound that never truly healed. Amidst the debris and despair, the company payroll ledger was miraculously recovered, intact. And here's the horrifying detail. Every single man, every one of the 63 who died at 3:07 p.m. was marked paid at 3:08 p.m. Imagine the cold, calculating cruelty, or the chilling efficiency of an unseen hand. For years afterward, the widows, those left behind to mourn and struggle, swore they heard the rhythmic clink of shovels striking stone at the exact hour their husbands' checks were cashed. A ghostly echo of labor, a perpetual payment for lives lost too soon. Even today, the mine's sealed mouth, a scar on the landscape, registers 3:08 on cheap digital watches, and those watches, they never run again. It's as if the mountain itself, the very rock that claimed those lives, has absorbed the final, tragic moment, forever marking the time of their last, unjust payment. Section 6, Virginia. In the heart of Wythe County, Virginia, stands the Nickerson Sneed House, a place steeped in history and horror. During the Civil War, it served as a field hospital, a makeshift sanctuary where lives were desperately fought for and often lost. The cellar, a cramped, earthen space beneath the house, became a morgue, a final resting place for countless fallen soldiers. It's only 6 feet deep, a shallow grave for so much suffering. Yet, modern echolocation technology reveals something impossible beneath it, a vast, inexplicable void. What could be down there? In 2019, a volunteer, armed with a GoPro camera, bravely lowered it into the darkness on 200 feet of cable. The cable ran out, but the camera still hit no bottom, just fell into the endless abyss. The audio captured was even more chilling, a child's voice, clear as day, reciting casualty numbers from the Battle of Cold Harbor. But here's the impossible part. The battle hadn't even happened yet when those numbers were spoken. A chilling premonition, a voice from beyond the veil. When the rope finally came back up, the camera was gone, vanished into the unseen depths. But the strap, miraculously, remained, bearing a surgeon's bloody thumbprint, dated June 1st, 1864. It's a date that resonates with the horrors of Cold Harbor, a battle known for its immense casualties. The Nickerson Sneed House isn't just haunted by residual energy. It seems to be a gateway to the past, a place where the veil between then and now is impossibly thin. and where the echoes of war refuse to be silenced. Section 7. Kentucky. The rugged coal camps of Pine Mountain, Kentucky, were harsh places, and the struggle for workers' rights was often brutal. To keep unionizers at bay, the mining companies employed tipple bulls, half-wild dogs, fierce and loyal only to their handlers. These weren't pets, they were weapons. In 1934, a preacher, perhaps an advocate for the downtrodden miners, or perhaps driven by a darker purpose, fed strychnine to the entire pack. He then vanished without a trace, leaving behind a grim legacy. The next morning, the dogs were found. Not scattered, not in disarray, but lined up along the creek, perfectly ranged. Their eyes had been gouged out, a horrifying act of desecration. And in place of their tongues, chillingly, were pages torn from the Gospel of Matthew. It was a message, a curse, or a twisted act of spiritual retribution. Since that day, hikers rounding the switchback trails of Pine Mountain report hearing the distinct baying of hounds, a mournful, haunting sound. But the baying doesn't come from the ground, it circles overhead, echoing like wind trapped in a cathedral dome. There are no tracks, no visible breath in the cold air, only the faint, unsettling rustle of onion skin, Bible paper and the laurels, a perpetual reminder of the preacher's vengeance and the dog's silent, eternal patrol. It's a story that speaks to the deep-seated conflicts and the powerful, often violent, spiritual forces that shaped Appalachian communities. Section 8. Tennessee. When you talk about Appalachian hauntings, the Bell Witch is undeniably the queen, a legend that has terrified generations. We know the story. The entity tormented John Bell and his family in Adams, Tennessee, starting around 1817, and allegedly even poisoned him by 1820. It's one of America's most famous poltergeist cases, with eyewitness accounts from prominent figures, including Andrew Jackson himself, who reportedly fled the farm in terror. But here's a detail that often gets overlooked. A chilling gap in the historical record, the court transcripts from the period, detailing the official investigations. Skip page 47. Why? What unspeakable information did that page contain that warranted its complete removal? The mystery deepened significantly in 1977. A high schooler, working on a class project, was filming inside the infamous Bell Witch Cave, a preserved site where the entity is said to have retreated. The student captured audio, and what they heard sent shivers down their spine. A woman's voice, clear and distinct, reciting that missing page, verbatim, word for word. It was an impossible, terrifying echo from the past. The cassette tape, once played, had a profound and destructive effect. It demagnetized every other tape in the AV closet, erasing countless hours of recordings. The teacher, who had likely heard the chilling contents of the tape, died of a stroke the very next day. Her last words, caught on a hallway intercom, were a frantic, terrified whisper, "Kate knows I read it." Kate, of course, being the name the Bell Witch often used. The Bell Witch isn't just a story, it's a living, breathing legend that continues to reach out from the past, reminding us that some secrets refuse to stay buried, and some voices will always demand to be heard. The Bell Witch Cave remains a place of profound mystery, drawing visitors who seek to understand, or perhaps even encounter, the enduring spirit of Kate. Section 9. North Carolina. The Brown Mountain Lights, those enigmatic glows dancing above the North Carolina ridge, are famous, drawing curious onlookers for centuries. But the Cherokee story, the original explanation, is far older and infinitely more poignant. It's also much shorter. The glow, they say, is the last breath of wives who arrive too late to warn their husbands of ambush, their spirits forever searching, forever mourning. It's a tragic, beautiful explanation for an enduring mystery. The lights have defied scientific explanation, with theories ranging from swamp gas to ball lightning, yet none fully capture the consistent, inexplicable nature of the phenomenon. In 1959, the U.S. Air Force, ever pragmatic, decided to debunk the myth once and for all. A pilot, flying a T-33 jet, was ordered to fly along the ridge to prove it was nothing more than an optical illusion or atmospheric anomaly. Ground radar tracked him diligently, circling for a full 37 minutes. A precise and controlled flight. But when the jet finally landed on fumes, a stark silence followed. The cockpit clock had stopped dead at 0 o'clock, freezing time at an unknown moment. And inside the pilot's helmet, 7 smooth river stones, still warm to the touch, as if recently held in a hand. How did they get there, and why? The pilot himself had no explanation, only a haunted look in his eyes. The Brown Mountain Lights aren't just a natural phenomenon, they are a persistent, tangible link to ancient sorrow, a testament to the enduring power of the land to hold onto its history and its heartaches. Between September and November, the lights are said to be most active, drawing those who seek a glimpse into this timeless Appalachian mystery. Section 10, South Carolina. In Clemson's Old Stone Churchyard, among the weathered markers and ancient oaks, lies a grave that tells a truly electrifying tale, that of Eliza Huger. Legend calls her the Queen Witch of Clemson, not necessarily for malevolent acts, but for a life touched by the inexplicable and the powerful. She was struck by lightning so often that the very marble of her headstone has been transformed into black glass, fused and scarred by the repeated celestial assaults. It's a stark, physical testament to an extraordinary life, or perhaps a powerful, lingering curse. In 1892, a groundskeeper, perhaps skeptical or simply trying to beautify the plot, tried to plant myrtle over the mound. But nature, or something more, resisted. The seeds sprouted overnight, a burst of unnatural growth, only to wither and die, twisting into the unmistakable shape of a noose. A grim warning from the earth itself. Every decade, a brass plaque on her grave, meticulously maintained, resets its strike count to 0. It's a chilling ritual, a countdown to the next inevitable event. The last bold hit in 2022. It wasn't during a raging storm or under a tumultuous sky. No, it struck at noon, under a perfectly cloudless sky, an impossible, pinpoint strike. The force of it blew the brass plaque face down, as if deliberately preventing the count from updating, from acknowledging the latest, impossible act of nature. Eliza Huger's grave isn't just a resting place, it's a monument to an enduring, powerful mystery, a place where the heavens themselves seem to have a score to settle, or a story to tell, that refuses to be silenced. And locals warn, never take a coin from her grave, lest you invite her peculiar curse. Section 11, Georgia. In 1942, as the world plunged into war, the U.S. Army established Camp Toccoa in Georgia, a critical training facility for elite paratroopers. But what the military brass might not have known, or perhaps chose to ignore, was that they were building on a sacred Cherokee burial ridge. The land, revered by generations, was now being disturbed by the rumble of trucks and the bark of drill sergeants. Almost immediately, one particular mortar range proved problematic, constantly shearing its elevation pins, throwing off calculations, as if an unseen hand was subtly sabotaging the training. A Cherokee recruit named Hill, perhaps chosen for his heritage or simply by chance, was ordered to stand guard overnight to figure out what was happening. He disappeared. The only trace left were his boot prints, which stopped mid-stride, as if he simply vanished into thin air. The next morning, the range was perfectly graded, every stake aligned, every pin precisely in place. It was pristine, as if the land itself had been smoothed over, erasing the previous night's disturbance and the recruit's presence. The Army, perhaps unnerved by the incident, renamed the mountain Currahee, meaning stand alone in Cherokee, a nod to both the paratroopers' motto and perhaps the mountain's own solitary, powerful spirit. But jumpers, even today, whisper a chilling warning if you run the mountain at dusk. A second set of boots will slap the ground behind you, a phantom echo of Hill's last patrol. The sound follows, relentless, until you reach the tree line. Then, as suddenly as it began, the sound is gone, and when you look back, your own footprints are missing, erased from the earth. Just like Hill's, as if the mountain itself claims anyone who dares disturb its ancient peaks. Section 12, Alabama Russell Cave, now a national monument, holds a much darker past. A history etched in desperation and betrayal. During the Civil War, it served as a vital saltpeter mine, providing the Confederacy with a key ingredient for gunpowder. The harsh conditions and the endless conflict drove many to desert. In 1864, 3 deserters, desperate to escape the war, found refuge deep within Russell Cave. They sealed the entrance with brush, hoping to vanish from the world, to escape Union patrols and Confederate bounty hunters alike. And for a time, they succeeded. No one found them. Not the blue-clad soldiers, nor the ruthless men paid to bring deserters back, dead or alive. The cave held their secret for nearly a century. Then, in 1958, archaeologists reopened the cave, eager to uncover its prehistoric secrets. What they found, however, was far more recent and infinitely more chilling. 3 skeletons, perfectly preserved, were seated around a table formed by a stalagmite, engaged in an eternal game of cards. Their bony hands still clasped chips of human bone, macabre markers in their final, silent poker game. The cards themselves, remarkably preserved, were dated 1865, a year after they disappeared, suggesting their grim game continued even after death. One skull, eerily, wore a Union belt buckle as a crown, a final, ironic twist of fate. The buckle's serial number was traced, and it matched a corporal listed at WOL the very day Abraham Lincoln died. It raises disturbing questions. Were they playing for their lives, for their souls? Or were they simply passing the endless, dark eternity, trapped in their final act of defiance against a war that consumed them all? Russell Cave isn't just a historical site, it's a tomb, a silent testament to the desperate lengths men will go to escape conflict, and the chilling permanence of their final, macabre game. Section 13, Mississippi. The town of Enterprise, Mississippi, isn't just a forgotten place. It literally vanished from state maps after the catastrophic 1927 flood. The sheer power of the water, a force of nature unleashed, was so immense it wiped the town clean off the face of the earth, leaving behind only memories and a lingering sense of loss. Decades later, in 1976, a Corps of Engineers survey party, perhaps unaware of the spectral history of the land, camped on what used to be the old Main Street. It was a routine assignment, a quiet night under the stars. But at 12 a.m., an impossible event occurred. Every single cell phone-sized radio in the camp, devices designed for communication, not for broadcasting, began scanning stations. The static filled the night, a cacophony of white noise, until every single radio landed on the same frequency. And through the crackle, they heard it, a 1927 broadcast of the Memphis Cotton Exchange report. The announcer's voice, tinny and distant, read out cotton futures, but in reverse order, a surreal, backward cascade of numbers. The broadcast ended with a chilling, definitive phrase, "Enterprise drowned at par." The next morning, the campsite was littered with bowls of white cotton, roots intact, as if freshly harvested. But here's the impossible part. They weren't lying on the muddy ground. They were floating, 2 inches above the mud, suspended in an unseen current, a ghostly echo of the flood that claimed the town. It was a message from the past, a spectral broadcast from a town that refused to be forgotten, a testament to the enduring power of natural disaster and the indelible mark it leaves on the land, and the souls of those lost. Section 14, Alabama. High on an eastern ridge of Alabama, a spur called Maher Ridge, stands a small, defiant grove of old-growth longleaf pine. These aren't just trees, they are ancient sentinels, witnesses to centuries of history. In 1939, loggers, driven by the insatiable demand for timber, moved in. They targeted the biggest tree, a towering patriarch of the forest. As the saw blade bit deep into its heartwood, it struck something metallic, something impossibly embedded within the living trunk. The blade shattered, sending deadly shrapnel flying, and tragically, killed the operator instantly. But the tree, even in its death throes, held another secret. It toppled anyway, revealing a human skeleton, intricately wrapped in root tendrils like macabre twine, as if the tree itself had embraced and consumed a lost soul. The metal object that caused the saw to shatter, a Civil War-era bayonet, perfectly preserved, grown into the very core of the tree. The tree rings, meticulously counted, dated the knife's encasement to 1864, right in the thick of the war. Decades later, in 2018, DNA analysis from the skeleton provided an even more unsettling twist. It matched a local family, a family who, according to all records, never had a soldier serve in the Civil War. Who was this man? Why was he buried in the heart of a tree with a bayonet that wasn't his, on land that perhaps wasn't his family's? The pines on Maher Ridge still ooze amber, but only every July, the very month the logger died. And the amber doesn't just drip. It hardens into the distinct chilling shape of a bayonet, a perpetual memorial to the hidden horrors of war, the secrets of the forest, and the lives that become inextricably intertwined with the ancient Appalachian land. If your state just passed by, don't just keep scrolling. Maybe you need to rewind and listen again. Listen for your name in the dark. While you're at it, tap that like button. YouTube's algorithm, it turns out, is pickier than a plateau ghost about who gets seen next. Let's show it the power of a good, old-fashioned Appalachian scare. Section 15. Wrapped through 14 states, 14 chilling scars etched into the very fabric of Appalachia. The mountains, you see, don't care for finish lines or easy answers. They keep score in tree rings, in the iron ore that bleeds from the earth, and in the enduring whispers of the past. This isn't just history from a textbook, it's history that breathes, that sighs, that occasionally screams. Drive the crest tonight, when the sun dips below the ancient peaks, and every mile marker seems to wear a shadow that wasn't there at noon. The air gets colder, the silence deeper, and the past feels impossibly close. The isolation that once defined these communities also preserved their stories, allowing them to fester and grow, transforming facts into folklore, and folklore into chilling reality. Keep the windows cracked. Some stories, especially these, need air. They need to be heard, to be felt, to remind us that even in our modern world, ancient forces and forgotten tragedies continue to shape the landscape and the very air we breathe. Now, it's your turn. Drop your own Ridge Runner tale, your local legend, or that one unexplained thing that happened to you in the comments below. The best ones? We'll read them aloud in next month's video, giving your story a voice. And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the voice that calls back. When you cross the last state line, when you think you've left the mountains behind, the road keeps climbing anyway. That's the thing about Appalachia. The map might end, but the mountain doesn't. Its spirit, its history, its mysteries, they linger. They seep into the soil, cling to the ancient trees, and echo in the hollows. If you hear a second pair of footsteps on the porch tonight, a sound that isn't your own, don't investigate. Just salt the threshold, just stay inside. Because the stories already know where you live, they just want to see if you remember theirs. They want to know if you're listening.